This version of the Batman is based off a graphic novel written and illustrated by Lee Bermejo himself back in 2011. A story that takes heavy inspiration from Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. So I do like the more subtle approach here to offer something that's related to the Yuletide season. Unlike last year where we actually got versions of the Batman outfitted as Santa Claus in blue and red versions. Well, there is a demographic for that kind of stuff, and I actually did pick up the red Santa Batman. But for the most part, I want Batman to look cool, because that's kind of why I dig his design in the first place. He looks so menacing, he looks so cool and stealthy, and he's just dark and brooding, and he means business. So who's to say you shouldn't approach Christmas the same way? He is essentially Ebenezer Scrooge in this story. He's taken nihilism to the next level. He's all worn out, losing hope for humanity, losing sight of what he originally suited up for when he started his crusade of becoming the Batman, the Dark Knight, until some important characters from his past and present showed up to remind him what Batman actually stands for. And with all that said, McFarlane did a very good job at representing the Batman from that story through this figure, despite some inaccuracies and some creative liberties that they've taken, as they normally do. Before looking at the figure, let's take a very quick look at the box. Standard McFarlane Toys packaging. It's got the card inside and the discs, which I didn't bother removing, because the card is just a mini version of the cover art that's being presented here at the back, which is a very nice cover art of Batman Noel. This is one of those instances where where the box art does not really knock down the figure itself, because they pretty much nailed the look of Batman here on this figure. So that's nice. Nothing much to see here on the sides. It just says Batman, Batman Noel, blah blah blah. Platinum edition. Okay. Nothing much in terms of accessories. It's just one punchy hand and one trigger finger hand with nothing for it to hold, such as a grappling gun, not even a batarang. The batarang comes with the regular version of this Batman Noel figure, and that is in the black and gray deco, while this one is obviously blue and gray with a black chest emblem. Then we get this gift box, which in the story contains a lot of cash given by the Joker to, I can't remember the name of the guy he used as an instrument to lure Batman, but yeah, it's pretty sparing in terms of what we get other than the figure. They could have given us two punchy hands instead, but they are nice for what they are. The figure itself does kind of have a built-in accessory, I guess, because this left hand is holding binoculars, although it's just a big chunk of blue plastic with nothing really to kind of break it apart other than the molded details right here, and yeah, not even the slightest bit of paint to kind of make those lenses look kind of real, I guess. But I have to say, this looks really good. One of their better looking Batman figures, and I understand that this is just a repaint or a reuse of the Page Puncher's Batman, which was also inspired by Lee Bermejo's art for a different story. I do remember that wave did have Black Adam, Superman, and there was another character which I cannot recall any longer. But yeah, he looks aesthetically pleasing. Like, his proportions look really nice, and it does look like he is a muscular person underneath that suit. And I do love the armored panels right here. This version of the suit does make him look a bit more tactical and heavy duty, an actual force to be reckoned with. So yeah, it does look really strong. While it doesn't have a lot of paint, there is enough to make it look like an actual collectible. The brown paint on the utility belt does bring its molded details to life, and I do love that bat symbol, that bat emblem right there in the middle of the belt. It probably serves as the buckle, I guess. And I like it when they do these sculpted emblems. That is one of the few things I do appreciate about McFarlane Toys Batman figures, because they normally give him a sculpted emblem, except for very few. The Nightfall Batman and all of its reuse. The armored panels look really good. They even took the extra step of painting those arm blades with a gray color. That's almost the same as the grays everywhere else, but it's slightly different. Still, that's a notable effort on their part. a valiant effort, if you will. Even the knuckle area has been spot painted with gray, so that's really nice. This area with the bootstraps show where the figure does suffer from the budget constraints, but otherwise, there is enough molded and sculpted details to really bring this figure to life. And the face does have a nice scowl to it. It looks angry and brooding, and overall, the head portrait does look nice. It even looks muscular. It looks like a head that fits the body. This is probably one of the best head sculpts that they've done so far, especially for a Batman figure. There are a lot of facial details going on to make it look expressive enough. It would have been nice if they added like a plastic overlay here to hold down the cape, and that plastic piece would flare out past the shoulders. That would have made this figure more accurate. The back does have enough detail work going on. The cape does look nice enough, although it's kind of untamable because of the material that they used. It's like this fruit roll-up thing. It kind of just goes its own way, you know? You really have to work your way around those wires to hold the cape in place so that it doesn't stick out just like that. Overall, they nailed the design, and I'm not going to complain much about its inaccuracies and whatever. Ample range going out to the side. Can look down a good amount. Looking up more effectively, so that's great. Diagonal motion, great, so the head can move around all the way you want. All the way you want? The arms can go out far enough, even with those shoulder pieces, because they're kind of soft and rubbery, so they don't really restrict outward motion. Not a perfect T, but it's good enough for me. The arm can rotate 360, no problem. There is a bicep swivel hidden or concealed by that shoulder pad, so it functions well and it looks good in that sense. Double jointed knees, elbows. Double jointed elbows look ugly, as per usual. This is where love is lost in every McFarlane Toys figure. No love to fill those gaps. And then we do have the molded hinge joint right here, so it allows for you to position the hand any way you want. You just gotta make some adjustments right there. It does rotate, no problem. This is another area where most DC Multiverse figures do suffer. Can barely crunch forward, if any at all. Going back, of course it does go back, because it's a McFarlane Toys figure. There is a good enough side-to-side motion right there. There's a bit of a twist here at the upper joint. You can also twist here at the lower joint. With both joints combined, his body does move around quite some, but it doesn't really go forward though, so that sucks. That crotch piece doesn't look excessive at all, like they normally do, so I'm hoping his legs can kick forward high enough, and I guess they do, so that's great. Some thigh rotation right there, mostly inward, barely any outward motion, but it's good enough. Double jointed knees do look great, and they function well. Well, not great, but not ugly as well. It's just somewhere in the middle. And we do have the hinged molded joint right here that does create a seamless, an almost seamless transition between the lower legs and the foot. Plus it offers a good range of mobility. As you can see, we do have a rocking motion, so that's great. And of course, the signature McFarlane toe joint, executed well in this figure. Cool. 17.5 centimeters, 7 inches tall at the top of his ears. McFarlane Toys Catman, Mafex Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider, the Mafex The Dark Knight Returns Chunky Batman. Here's a smaller scale figure of Rurouni Kenshin. Jada Toys Optimus Primal Metal Fig diecast figure. Overall, it's a good enough release for me to recommend it, as long as you're not paying more than retail price. I personally like this better than the black and gray version. That is not to say that one is a bad look, because it also looks good. That's even more accurate to the source material. It's just a matter of personal preference. Plus, this is a chase version, so you're going to have a much harder time tracking this down. If you can't find this in your local stores, then you're most likely going to have to pay extra. Scalpers gonna scalp, you know. Anyway, this has been kind of a fun figure to play with. It's not so hard to make him look cool, posing him around, and even just by standing there, he's gonna look formidable, and he's gonna have shelf presence. He's gonna command your attention There is enough detail work going on as far as molded details and paint applied across the body of the figure. The proportions do look great and nothing comes off as being weird. If you're already collecting the DC Multiverse line from McFarlane Toys, you're not going to be disappointed by this one. For being mostly a reuse except for the cape, this is one of their better ones. Thanks for watching, I do hope to see you in the next one. Peace.